The obvious thing, right, would be Kendrick say, I hate you guys, right? He said it in Euphoria. No, he says, I'm ashamed of you. That's why I trade you all for Nip. I can't be proud of you.
Oh my God, this is big. This is big.
He could just say, I put my bet, I paid my dues. He doesn't. He says, I paid your dues. When was the last time you heard Drake say to the youth, put your head inside of a book and try to learn something for your future? The pop out concert, people say all this bad stuff about Kendrick. That could have been the ultimate moment to advertise something, to make a little quick buck, right? It's literally two different paradigms clashing. It's two different fans of music. One side is like, how the hell can you say Drake is good? And the other is like, how the hell can you say Drake is bad? I don't get it. Drake once said to Kendrick in one of his songs, I think it was one of his songs, something like, if I rapped like you, I would have had all your fans. Which is a pretty dumb statement to make to anyone. It's like saying to a Harvard professor, you know, if I just studied as hard as you did and I took all those tests you did, I also would have been a Harvard professor. I mean, when this song first dropped, we just heard that Kendrick was going to be headlining the Super Bowl. A lot of people were shouting that this isn't a Drake diss, which it isn't specifically. And I know why people are saying it. It's because Drake fans, after taking a whooping from Kendrick, tried to seize the moment of Kendrick dropping a song for the culture and his fans to say, Kendrick is trying to do a round two, look, and this is such a weak diss. What's funny to me is that even if this was a Drake diss song, it's culturally more important than the last, 20 songs that Drake dropped after the rap beef, something like that. This isn't a full-on Drake diss, obviously related to the beef. To me, there are a few good subs and shots towards Drake that I don't think anyone can deny. And obviously, we're just left to interpretation at this point because, yes, the direct beef is over, so no mentioning of names, so take it as you will. But I give Kendrick so much credit for this song because Watch the Party Die was a very vulnerable song and an easy target for Kendrick haters to gravitate to and hate on from a sonical perspective because they're still living in the rap beef, right? The rap beef sound, wishing there was a round two. They were trying to say, it's a mistake. And trust me, Kendrick haters, do y'all really want Euphoria and Not Like Us Kendrick back? Because he could do that, right? Let's take Watch the Party Die, all right? Let's take it like that because we could get the other side of Kendrick and you guys are not going to like it. I mean, we will, but the other side might not. This song was for the culture, and I think it was for Kendrick fans. And because while I absolutely adored Euphoria and every single Drake diss by Kendrick, I don't want Kendrick's legacy to be embroidered with dissing Drake constantly all the time. I'm ready for Damn Kendrick, and I'm ready for Mr. Morale Kendrick again. And this was Kendrick showing up again for his fans in such a vulnerable way. He even almost gave us the Kendrick cry from You off of To Pimp a Butterfly. Imagine that, the guy who went full arch nemesis, sicko mode on Drake, despite the crudeness and mockery from Drake's side.
You don't get it. Kendrick was giving a State of the Union address. He's so smart. He's hip-hop Jesus. Okay, you got it.
Still had the vulnerability and confidence with no excuses to make a song for the culture, showing up and practically crying in it.
Get him gone, we go watch the party die.
When he not only made it vulnerable, he was so up he didn't even need a drop. So a song about redemption, good versus evil, the bad parts of our culture that we need to overcome, and just doing the right thing. So without further ado, let's talk about the 20 best lyrics from Watch the Party Die. All right, let's talk about the music just briefly. Before we start, we have to take a moment to look at the music. When I first heard this, I was like, oh wow, this is going to be a smooth, groovy song. Like, what is he going to say? The beat sounds sad. It almost sounds like tears. When I just heard it, I felt like I should be crying, honestly. And putting this against all of the fury that Kendrick created through Euphoria and Not Like Us, it makes it even more impactful. For the sample of the song, I searched around a lot, and a lot of people just do not seem to know what the sample is. Maybe it's an original beat. I don't know. Something sounds like it's being said in the background, but kind of like blurred and meshed. Some people say they hear a little bit of SZA's Kill Bill in there.
I might kill my face.
Some people are speculating parts of international songs, like from a song called La Maritza by a French singer, Sylvie Vartan. But no one truly knows. I love the sound personally, and I love that it was something that people thought they could just hate on because this was gonna be, introspective Kendrick. So he opened the door for a lot of things, and that's okay. Now let's talk about the cover art. When I first saw the cover, my first reaction was like, ew, right? Just seeing dirty, raggedy, like shoes. I think in our culture, we are obsessed with sneakers, like clean shoes, that we feel raggedy shoes is a sign of just not having enough. And no matter how poor we are, a lot of people still just want their shoes to look fresh. I even seen videos of women saying sometimes they look at a man's shoes as one of the first things as a sign of who he is. I don't know, y'all tell me in the comments below.
Having nice sneakers and taking care of them is really important.
Which is a little scary for us guys, but what does that say about our culture? That's what I felt, and I think that's kind of the vibe Kendrick was suggesting. Not that raggedy shoes are bad, but that this day and age, our culture is degenerate. So I think the shoes can be a sign of both sides. One, the bad culture itself, the musty, dusty things that we see happen around us, thinking of even the most recent allegations with the Diddy arrest, and also the themes in the most popular music that we have around us. But also, the shoes can be a sign of the opposite, the sign of goodness in our culture that is like worn and torn down by the evil when you try to continue to fight for what is right, like as if the shoes are Kendrick, like the shoes are Kendrick himself trying to hold down a positive culture, but getting beaten down. Another twist I felt, while I can't say for sure why Kendrick chose like old black Air Force Ones, we do know that Drake had a white on white drop of Nike Air Force Ones called the Noctas Certified Lover Boy.
Here they are, guys. We got the Drake forces in the building, which were probably supposed to release at the same time that he dropped his album, Certified Lover Boy. But obviously they didn't.
So could Kendrick be doing a play on this? Maybe, and that would be sick and hilarious to me, to give him a little sneak diss, because Drake did not let up on sneak disses after the rap beef. So it's okay for Kendrick to shoot him a little. Another theory that floated around was something like, because the song did drop on 9/11, that the shoes were a symbolic metaphor between the music culture and the towers, and how Kendrick wants to tear things down and revamp the culture. Another interesting theory was that the cover was an actual cover thumbnail for an eBay listing of some old black Air Force Ones. I personally can't verify the listing that it was before the song's drop. I don't know for sure, but I also found it kind of interesting. Imagine if the listing itself was by Kendrick to kind of like add lore for the song. That would be kind of sick. All right, watch the party die. Just the phrase itself, the chorus. He starts off by saying, I think it's time to watch the party die.
You're gonna hear about my party, they're gonna be shutting them down, they're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we wanna have a good time.
New surveillance video shows Combs being taken into custody in a Manhattan hotel last week.
There was an American classic novel called The Great Gatsby, which was also turned into a movie. It's a story about a mysterious man named Gatsby who he throws these elaborate rich people parties. People don't know exactly who he is or how he got his money. And it seems like his immense wealth masks his deep emotional emptiness. Right? Gatsby falls in love with a woman who he cannot really attain because while she's attracted to Gatsby's allure, she doesn't fully feel secure with him. His parties and richness are just a mask, and she knows it. The extravagant parties symbolize how the obsession with wealth and status ultimately leads to isolation and disillusionment.
My life has got to be like this. It's got to keep going up.
Watching the party die mirrors the destruction of these superficial pursuits and how materialism takes away from the truth and the deeper aspects of life. Without giving the story away, Gatsby's extravagant parties all come to a halt when he cannot obtain Daisy's love. He becomes lonely and isolated. Clearly, there's also a match here for the parties that Diddy threw, right? That even Diddy himself had compared himself to Gatsby from The Great Gatsby. Now, this is what Kendrick means by watch the party die, a revolution and destruction of fakeness and fake people for truth and love. There are definite parallels between Kendrick's party metaphor, of course, between two people today, Diddy and Drake. For sure, we can't take away that this can be a subliminal shot against Drake on how he, at nearing 40, doesn't have a true love or a wife. And no shots at anyone who hasn't found someone, but he seems to be someone who continues to throw parties and sort of masks his loneliness. As for the other person, how can this not be a stark parallel to Diddy himself, the person who at the time of this video just got arrested by the feds for horrible allegations, which happened after this song dropped. This song dropped on 9/11. Diddy was arrested on September 16th. And all this degenerate Diddy parties and allegations of Diddy, it's all coming to an end now. Let's get into the next lyrics. It's different, getting whacked and disqualified. We even kill the killers because they like taking innocent lives. Burn the whole village. We start over. It's really that time. These lyrics appear to be shots at Drake and his entourage and any other bad actors who Kendrick feels are perpetuating degeneracy in the music industry. In his diss, Meet the Grams, Kendrick says, while speaking to Adonis, Drake's son, your son's a sick man with sick thoughts. I think dudes like him should die. Him and Weinstein should get locked up in a cell for the rest of their lives. I mean, these are strong accusations and words to wish against someone. You don't wish that unless you feel someone is truly criminal. And that's what makes me feel like Kendrick really feels like he knows something that maybe the world doesn't know and he wants to expose. Next line. Why reason with these dudes if they can't see the future first? Why argue with these clowns if the circus is well at work? These are literally some of my favorite lines in the whole song. They are very articulate and descriptive. I like how he says, why reason with these people if they can't see the future? Kendrick could just say, right? Why reason with these people if they're stupid? Right? That seems like the basic logical thing, right? That seems to make sense. But he says, why reason if they can't see the future? If these people don't even understand what they're doing or don't know the consequences of their actions in the future or what they're doing now, if they do not have a vision, their future or our future, then what are we talking about? How can I even speak to them about anything? You can say whatever you want, but when someone's complete paradigm is different, you can't be on the same page. A simple example, when someone says Drake's music is garbage, and an OVO fan is like, what? Drake is obviously the best. You know, that's the reason this rap beef between Kendrick and Drake has been so controversial in the first place, because it's literally two different paradigms clashing. It's two different fans of music. One side is like, how the hell can you say Drake is good? And the other is like, how the hell can you say Drake is bad? I don't get it. There's a paradigm in their music. There's a paradigm about Drake the person and Drake's actions that are missing in the conversation. Then I love the line about the circus. It's just such a great follow-up to the reason line. Why argue with a clown when he's in a circus? It's so perfect and it's so well said. Because imagine you walking into a circus, running up to the clown and saying, "What the hell are you wearing?" That's where we're going wrong. There's a circus going on, so there's nothing for us to say. You got to let the circus be. Damn, this next line. If you parade in gluttony without giving truth to the youth, the graveyard is company. Just tell us what casket to choose. Holy, this line is one of the best. Again, it's a very interesting line. Like, why doesn't Kendrick say what appears to be logical? Because gluttony in a literal sense means overeating. So he can say, if you sit around eating too much, why aren't you sharing it with others? Right? That would be like the basic. He's saying that, but in a much more articulate way. Don't share the gluttony, spread the truth. We don't want what you're trying to spread. So every other day I see Drake taking a selfie with some new fancy clothes or a fancy car, showing it off on Instagram. Like, how does that make the young people who follow like social media feel? And don't get me wrong, Drake isn't the only one who does that, but these type of things are really affecting the youth. Seeing all these things they can't have and people bragging about. So Kendrick is saying, if you sit around parading in your materialism and at the same damn time you bring no goodness to the culture, to the people, to the kids, then just dig your own grave because you're already dead. And I'll get the casket ready for you. Next line. They party more than bitches. Tell me, what are you working for? They glorify scamming. You get chipped over this credit card. Both these lines are pretty deep. The first line is a good way to say, if you're partying so much, then what are you truly working for? Are you working just to party? Or are you working for a true vision? When you watch some of these people, it does feel like they are doing everything just for money and fame. And the same can be said for Diddy. For this second line, Drake is actually sponsored by an online gambling company called Stake. And he promotes it on his Instagram, right? In his bio, which honestly seems really dumb to me. Like, just putting aside the problems behind gambling, the research that proves most people lose their money gambling and also creates and plays on human emotions and addictions. Like, why? Like, just why? Drake, with all your influence, why did you align your brand with a gambling company? Kendrick said in Meet the Grams also, talking to Drake's dad, Dennis, I'm blaming you for all his gambling addictions, psychopath intuition, the man that liked to play victim. Then later on in the song, he talks directly to Drake saying, you got gambling problems, drinking problems, pill popping and spending problems, bad with money, whorehouse, and he continues to go on. And these clips of Drake, to me, I mean, talking about steak, trying to act like some young streamer.
This is Drake coming to you live from one of the most exclusive, private, excited to welcome you back to Steak and Quiet Places. Come on now, give us something crazy here.
Ooh.
Oh my God, this is huge. This is really big. This is really big. This is big. This is big. This is big.
Parading some BS, brand just to make some money. It's sad, honestly. So in Watch the Party Die, Kendrick could be saying two different things with a double entendre. It sounds like he's saying Drake is glorifying scamming by promoting gambling and you will get chipped. In other words, you will get hurt by it. But there's also another twist. He could be talking directly to Drake saying, you, Drake, glorify scamming, but still you're going to get hurt by me. You'll get chipped by this credit card, aka me. So again, obviously, like, these don't have to necessarily be talking about Drake, but I'm never going to let up like that these could be sub shots at Drake. I'll take that for face value. Obviously, there's deeper meaning to all this. Next line. Influencers talking down because I'm not with the basic shit. But they don't hate me, they hate the man that I represent, the type of man that never dick ride because I want a favor, the man that resides in patience. Like, it's just really beautiful lines. Clearly, Kendrick is talking about all the hate he received by social media influencers who sided with Drake and spoke down on Kendrick. And people always try to hate on the person speaking up for the truth and not just going with the flow. But I love this part. He says they don't hate me per se. He flips it on them, just like he flipped it on Drake. They don't hate me per se. They hate what I represent. That is just so perfect. Let me tell you why. Because not only is it a brilliant point, it's a good way to shove it back in the influencer's face by saying, you think your comments are attacking me and hurting me, but no, your comments are only attacking the good that I represent. In other words, you influencers hate goodness. You don't just hate me. What a brilliant chess move. Next line. The ones that lost it all and learned to learn from that. A thirst for life, head inside a book because he's concerned with that. Information that'll change his life because he yearns for that. Dedication, finding out what's right because he can earn from that. Here, Kendrick is talking to the people who learn from their mistakes and trying to be positive. A thirst for doing the right, reading books and getting knowledge, knowing that can help him or make a future, him or her, of course, to make a future. I love this because it's rare for a rapper to speak on these sort of themes. Head inside a book. When was the last time you heard Drake say to the youth, put your head inside of a book and try to learn something for your future? When was the last time you heard that in any rap song of recent? Also, I don't know if people peeped it, but even in the Pop Out concert, Kendrick basically had like a promotional short clip that almost was like an advertisement in a way, encouraging the youth to learn about how to like invest in their future and build the future.
Losing it all with one roll of the dice. Ray, what you think?
I think volatility is his problem, and I don't think he understands how to compound his talent and how to compound his money. You should invest in yourself, man, and then you learn more, and then when you learn more, you also make more money, and it compounds. You could have 2 barbershops, you could have 10 businesses if you know how to compound.
Basically, bro, what he's saying is slow money wins the race. You can still have a big upside even if you don't throw all your chips in the bag.
Like the Pop Out concert, people say all this bad stuff about Kendrick. That could have been the ultimate moment to advertise something, to make a little quick buck, right? Like if that was Drake, he would, oh, here's steak. Look at my steak gambling cup. Let's gamble together. But no, Kendrick instead uses that moment, such a pivotal moment, and such a watch. All eyes were on that. And he actually does an advertisement trying to help the youth. Yeah, it is what it is, man. You guys can take it however, but that's the truth. Some people say D-Ride this. I'm looking at it as basic as what's the truth in front of me. All right, next line. I feel for the women that deal with the clown and nerd shit. Can't blame them. Today, they ain't really got much to work with. How many bitches harder than a lot of you dudes would trade all of y'all for Nip? I can't be proud of you. I think Kendrick is one of the few rare rappers who called out the men. I used to have a conversation with my wife about some of the themes in female rap music and be like, jokingly, you hear what they're saying? And she'd be like, do you hear what the guys say in the male rap? And I'd be like, oh, damn, you're right. Like, you're right. It is worse. So here Kendrick is speaking up for women saying, you know what? I feel sorry for you women because most of these men out here are bums, honestly. And honestly, I agree. As a man, I see and hear what all the men around me like want and talk about. And sometimes I'm just like, damn, how the hell is a woman supposed to find a soulmate when all these bums, what they're talking about? Well, not everyone, obviously, but all they want to do is mess around. And again, speaking, obviously, there are good men out there, but we all know as men what the deal is. So then he says, then how many bitches are harder than you? Damn, I love that line because Kendrick is cooking the dudes here. A line like that can make a man cry, break his ego bad when he feels that a woman is tougher than him. Because a lot of men always want to be seen as the strong person. But deep down, it's true. A lot of these men are weak. Then the line about Nipsey Hussle, it hits so hard to me. Nipsey Hussle being the late rapper from LA who was also gunned down. Rest in peace. He says, I will get rid of all of you fake dudes just to have someone like Nipsey Hussle back. But then I love the continuation. I can't be proud of you. He doesn't say, right? The obvious thing, right, would be Kendrick say, I hate you guys, right? He said in Euphoria, I dislike you. No, he says, I'm ashamed of you. That's why I trade you all for Nip. I can't be proud of you. That's why I want to get rid of you. That is such a good way to measure friends and the people around you, not whether you like or hate them, but can you be proud of them? I love that line. And when he said it, it hit me. Like Kendrick saying, I feel disgusted with what I see. Imagine all of the crap with the Diddy allegations and all these nasty things we're hearing. Someone who many people once saw as an icon and a positive person. Look at what we see now when we see the allegations. The chorus. The chorus, this song just, it builds and builds the more you hear it. And the more you hear the chorus, you just feel it. God, give me life. Dear God, please give me peace. Dear God, please keep these lame dudes away from me. Dear God, keep me shining. If they really think, pocket watching, you must be the police. God bless these words. Dear God, bless how I think. Dear God, draw the line. They trying to confuse them with me. Dear God, please forgive me. You knowing how hard I tried. I think it's time for me to watch the party die. I love the line, please keep these lame dudes away from me. Keep them away from me, bro. Because a lot of people face this and people come in their lives like, God, please. Sometimes you can't avoid, right? Sometimes like in school, you just can't avoid the people around you, the people that your teacher is going to put you in a group in, the people you work with, right? In life, it's almost like, for good, for better or for worse, it's like you can't run away from the people around you sometimes. Otherwise, you go live in a cave. But here he's praying, God, please keep these lame dudes away from me. Like when you go to work, like, please don't let that person approach me today. Like, just get away from me. Like, please don't, The other line I liked was, dear God, draw the line. They're trying to confuse him with me. I love that. Like Kendrick is saying, we are just not the same, like and not like us. Don't try to compare me to these dudes, right? As Kendrick is trying to say. I'm going at them, but don't try to put us. We're just different, right? You ever meet someone, you're like, man, we're just different. Like, we are not the same. All right, next line. Street dudes and the corporate guys, the rappers that report the lies. I need their families mortified. This is an interesting line because it's not exactly clear, but Kendrick is hinting that the business people in the music industry are in cahoots with the street dudes and the rappers, all mixed up in evil. What does Kendrick mean when he says the rappers that report the lies? I need their families mortified. Mortified was a word that confused me because it almost sounds like deadly or something. But mortified actually means to be embarrassed and ashamed. So Kendrick's saying, I want the families of these rappers to find out what they're lying about and be ashamed. Let's get these lying rappers exposed. And as of the Diddy case, we see all of these things being exposed and families being exposed and being embarrassed and feeling icky about what's going on. I think this is like a broad stroke about all the character of all these rap industry dudes and rappers who are involved in degenerate activities. People commit these crimes under the radar, but let's have them exposed in front of their families finally so they can realize the wrong they're doing, right? Like a lot of people do things, but when they know that the people they love will know about it, that's when they get embarrassed. Next line. No more pillow talking, jump-starting neighborhood wars, dirty macking bitches because your spirit is insecure. The flashy dude with nasty decisions, using money as a backbone. I want his head cracked before he's back home. Obviously, this line can be about many different people, including Drake. And there's a strong correlation with Drake's antics and this line. But personally, because of current events, I tie this not only to Drake, but a lot to Diddy because of all the accusations. Diddy has been allegedly mixed up in creating the East Coast, West Coast war that happened, in the US And people have speculated as to whether Diddy was behind Tupac's murder, because Tupac himself questioned Diddy and his crew when he was first shot several times, but he survived it.
People think I just got out of jail was like, just because I got shot on the East Coast, I'm like, fuck the East Coast. Yeah. No, half the rappers from the East Coast was there when I got shot. Nobody knew a thing. That's just like you come into the hood and the police ask them what happened, and everybody's like, I don't know. You know they lying. And all I was doing was like, give me my proper etiquette. If Biggie was out here on the West Coast, he was in the studio with me and we homeboys, and he got shot, no, I wouldn't tell him who did it, but he would want, I wouldn't go ride on niggas who did it, but he would want to know who did it. And I'd be like, look, man, these niggas from Watts did it. Boom, this is why they want to talk to you. When. That's how I do it. Just like
and we do know that Dwayne Keefe D, who was arrested last year for the murder of Tupac, but there's clips of Keefe D saying in police interviews that allegedly Diddy was involved, saying that Diddy said he would give anything for Tupac's head.
Nearly 30 years after the death of legendary rapper Tupac Shakur, the man accused of his murder is now claiming that Sean Diddy Combs once ordered a hit on the rap icon. In a recent court filing, a 2009 interview between police and Dwayne Keefe D. Davis is making headlines yet again, as Davis is claiming that Diddy told him he would give anything for that dude's head, in reference to both Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur.
Again, all alleged, we don't know for sure, but Diddy was never charged for it. But what we do know is that Diddy is right now arrested and allegedly for being the leader of a criminal racketeering and sex trafficking, along with coercing people at these parties. He was accused of abusing women, with a very viral video of him beating and dragging, his ex-girlfriend, the musical artist Cassie. So Kendrick saying, so no more dirty macking bitches because your spirit is insecure. Diddy was also known to be like a flashy person, flaunting his money and his power around. There's like a viral clip of Suge Knight, who used to describe Diddy as dancing all in the videos.
And one other thing I'd like to say, any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, and don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the record, dancing, come to Death Row.
And again, I don't know if Kendrick's talking about him, but he says, I want his head cracked before he's back home. Next line. The radio personality pushing propaganda for salary. Let me know when they turn up as a casualty. I want agony. People argued about who Kendrick was referring to because he says radio personality, right? Radio, we would say, is kind of like dead. Where, many of the degenerate online personalities are the social media people and the streamers. We know Kendrick has already name dropped the media personality DJ Academics in 616 in LA, saying he's compromised, right? So what's sad is that even after Kendrick's pop-out concert, where he decided to leave that verse out where he talks about Academics, and Academics' streams appeared very happy about it, that he left him out in the stream. He left him out such a pivotal moment, he took him out of the conversation. But then even then, Academics has continued to hate on Kendrick. And this is one thing that I've kind of raised an eyebrow to. And since then, he's been reporting a lot of weird things like that. Like, for example, businesses were mad that Kendrick shot Not Like Us in Compton, right? It's like a random headline. And that Kendrick only won because he had a good marketing team. Like refusing to acknowledge that Drake's diss songs, maybe they just didn't hit as much as Kendrick's did to the culture, right? Could that not be the case? Which it is the case.
Kendrick fans are the worst people I've ever seen. They're worse than prime Kanye fans. They're the male barbs.
But even though Kendrick says radio personality here, I do think he's talking about Academics. I think because of all the connections, he's pretty popular because of all the connections and current events that have happened, that they are steady pushing out propaganda and lies to an audience to get paid. Do I think that necessarily? Not necessarily about people, but I think Kendrick is trying to make a statement, that these people, you got to be careful. Now, whether that's Academics or not, just for people to take heed that you got to be mindful of who you listen to. Like, are they really doing it for the culture or are they spreading lies? It's something that people have to reflect on. Next line. Let's kill the followers that follow up on Pop and Molly's from the obvious degenerates that's failing to acknowledge the hope we trying to spread. If I'm not his vote, then you need to bring his effing head or film that shit in high res. Let's stop supporting the people who are talking only about drugs and the degenerate people like the influencers and streamers who are spreading degeneracy in their media. Like, as opposed to the good Kendrick is referring to. When this song came out, some of the Drake fan side tried spinning the main point of this song, saying, oh, this was a bad diss on Drake, when it was clearly a song about today's culture and making a positive change. The second part of this verse was a little tricky because he says, if I'm not his vote, then you need to bring his head or film that in high res. The pronouns are kind of hard to define. So who is his vote? And who is you in this case, right? If I'm not his vote, then you need to bring his head. To me, at first listen, it sounds like Kendrick is just saying in a symbolic way. If by now all these people don't see me as the chosen one after all the obvious, the beef, the win, the things like Kendrick has been saying, okay, then you, the audience, need to take down this enemy, or at least film it so we all could see it. It sounds like Kendrick is calling for the audience to do a revolution if he's not put in position to. Next line. Sometimes I wonder what Lecrae would do. F these dudes up or show them just what prayer do. I want to be empathetic, my heart like D1, but I will. Then you hear the rest of the line. I personally haven't followed artists like Lecrae and D1. I think probably for a lot of people, this was the first time they heard, or some people know them. But Lecrae is a Christian rapper, and D1 is a rapper, but also an author, activist, and speaker. They speak more positivity.
But tell God I'ma need a whole lot of hope keeping it together.
Whoa, what up, y'all? It's your boy D1, and I'm about to go in on this topic. You heard me? Kendrick Lamar just dissed Drake. Everybody talking about it. Man, all I want to say is this. Rap beef is lame.
So here Kendrick is saying, I'm not Lecrae and I'm not D1. But sometimes I think, what would they do in my circumstance? He says, I want to be like them, but I think that I can't fully be that way. I would, ... And he proceeds to remove the lyrics.
I want to be empathetic, my heart like D1, but I will.
And to leave it mysterious or just hint that he would be capable of things he doesn't want to make mention of in the song. Kendrick has done this many times. He's done this in an old song. I love this song called Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst, off of the Good Kid, Mad City album. In one of the first verses where it was a narrative of a friend of his talking to Kendrick about how his brother was killed and how Kendrick sort of loved his brother. And the end of the verse, the friend says how much he appreciates Kendrick for loving his brother when he was alive, and then says,
if I die before your album drop, I hope.
You hear the gunshots go off, hinting that he was killed before being able to accomplish the goal. Just such an artistic way of making that point. Also, in the second verse, it's told from the perspective of Keisha's sister. Kendrick had a song on Section 80 called Keisha's Song. So he does in Good Kid, Mad City a perspective like as if it was Keisha's sister, a prostitute, who's trying to explain to Kendrick why she has to do what she has to do, and that she's not necessarily ashamed of it because of her circumstance, and tells him, look, don't look down on me. And towards the end of the verse, Kendrick keeps rapping right in her perspective. But then at the end of the verse, he begins lowering the volume until it goes mute.
The fuck is talking about you can't help with my story. You can help me if you sell this pussy for me, nigga. Don't ignore me.
To indicate that she also unfortunately gets killed in her pursuits. So Kendrick does these really amazing and artistic things in his music. It was nice to see it and hear it here. And I think Kendrick fans will appreciate it. And newcomers should go back and listen to some of the older music. All right, next line. They wonder why I'm not enthused to drop. The more visible you get, the more your spiritual is tried. It's cynical to say I know these artists petrified. The end result in jail by Jezebel or drugged up full of lies. This is a really interesting line. We all know Kendrick drops music infrequently. Here he says, y'all wondering why? Because the more I get in front of the spotlight, the more difficult it is to do the right thing. I know it's cynical to say, and cynical is a great word here because cynical means, quote unquote, concerned only with one's own interests and typically disregarding accepted or appropriate standards in order to achieve them, like selfishness. So he's saying, I know it's selfish, but these other artists are going through it. It may seem selfish that I want to keep all this music to myself. I don't want to drop, but that's the reality. I just want to tell it to you guys. So then we get to the second part of these bars I thought was really interesting and it's wide open to interpretation. This phrase Jezebel, this word Jezebel. What is Jezebel? He says, the end result in jail by Jezebel. Jezebel has a lot of meanings, obviously, historically and culturally. But Jezebel, more technically, is a biblical reference to a woman who was a queen of Israel and wife of King Ahab. She was known to be a pagan, moving people away from worshiping one God. There was a story where her husband wanted the land of someone named Naboth, and excuse me if I'm getting some of these names incorrectly for people who know this story well, but these are old biblical times. He didn't want to sell it. The guy Naboth didn't want to sell it. So she devised a plot to have him killed so she could just take it from him. While the phrase has also become known for a woman who defies authority, which is a more positive spin on the word, the darker part of the word is, according to Britannica, Jezebel, and the name or phrase itself has become known for the archetype of an evil woman who provokes conflict and has interfered with doing good, right? Kind of like a bad person. I think Kendrick is saying like that can be your end when you get too involved in this industry. In jail by Jezebel, caught up doing the wrong, whether because you wanted to or were influenced by a friend, your girl, your spouse, whatever, and stuck in jail. It could be literal, also just being stuck in a situation where you're just perpetuating the wrong, doing the wrong thing. Then he says, or drugged up, full of lies, a state of degeneracy and avoiding the truth and what's good. And you can even see this with the case of streamers who just do clickbait or rage bait. They drop and they're online constantly to get more famous. And you see as time passes, their content just becomes super degenerate, and they walk around provoking people and stirring up reactions just to try and create content for their channel. All right, next line. I'm pitiful, sunk in place soon as I'm questioning my pride. I'm seeing ghosts, blacking out, relapsing one thought at a time. I like this line because it balances out Kendrick, his call to righteousness and doing good. He calls himself out, saying, I'm bad too. I have my own problems. I'm not always in a good place either. And I question myself. And this humanizes him to us. And it's a nice touch because a lot of speakers who are known for fire and brimstone, like those who just shout out the top of their lungs, demanding people do good, or they will face hellfire, they rarely show their human side or the bad things they do. We all know no one is perfect, and sometimes the people who are so prideful have the worst secrets. So in this way, Kendrick is balancing his call out by showing people that he's also like you. Next line. I love this line. I flood the market with my best regards. I paid your dues. And so it's up. If you ain't one of ours, it's bad news. My dude Jay Estrada said I gotta burn it down to build it up. I like this line because Drake once said to Kendrick in one of his songs, I think it was one of his songs, something like, if I rapped like you, I would have had all like your fans. So something dumb like that, which is a pretty dumb statement to make to anyone. It's like saying to a Harvard professor, you know, if I just studied as hard as you did and I took all those tests you did, I also would have been a Harvard professor. I mean, but anyway, what I like about this line, Kendrick saying, I flood the market with my best. I put out the best body of work in this rap game that I can be proud of. This is really interesting. He doesn't say, I paid my dues. He could just say, I paid my dues. He doesn't. He says, I paid your dues. Meaning, I put enough in this rap game for me and for you. Like when someone is broke, right? If you have a friend who doesn't have money, you pay for them. Or like if you're making a donation, like for example, you donate money for you and you throw in a little extra for that other person, making a donation on their behalf. That to me was such a nice shot at Drake and everyone else. Like I didn't just pay my dues, I paid your dues. I made up all the stuff you guys aren't doing. So ultimately, if you're not down with what we are down with, I feel sorry for you and what's coming. That's what Kendrick's saying. Last line, locking into what I trust, looking outside. The kids live tomorrow because today the party just died. Man, my voice just cracked from it. The kids live tomorrow because today the party just died. And here he's already putting the party in the past. Now watch the party die. The party died. Now, by the end of the song is over. And what's crazy is that Diddy got locked up after this song. Locking into what I trust, looking outside. And this line ties back into what he said in the beginning. If you parade in gluttony without giving truth to the youth, the graveyard is company just tells what caskets to choose. There he says you have to provide for the youth. Don't just sit around doing the wrong. So here he's saying we're going to give the youth hope in the future by destroying this party today. The party being a symbol of all the degeneracy and the crooked things happening around us.